Julian, thanks very much indeed for joining us today. I know you must be really busy. London Tech Week, you're all over the place.
Yeah, we've got lots going on, huge amount. I've done a couple of things myself, but obviously our president, Jacqueline de Rocas, is quite prominent.
Yeah,
she was interviewing Gavin Patterson during the week. And we host a whole bunch of stuff, so we've done some stuff on AI, etc.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's quite a few of your member companies organising their own fringe events as well.
Absolutely, I mean, it's been very interesting, the virtual London Tech Week. I'd be surprised if we don't get an even greater reach.
Yeah, I would agree with you actually. Yeah, in some respects it's a fabulous medium, like this. We're streaming for hours and all over the globe. We've had registrations from literally everywhere, and we're covering, in terms of speakers, we've got Africa, Australia, Canada, United States represented. So it's fabulous. But it's all down to tech, isn't it? So it's wonderful. Yeah. So tell us, given where we are, COVID, lockdown, slump, economic slump, what are in your view, the key UK tech challenges as far as your members are concerned? But you pretty much represent the totality of the tech industry.
Yeah, we do. We're chips to clicks, so we have the hardware players, we also have the internet players, etc. So we saw it in 3 phases, Jeff. So the first phase was very much about responding to the crisis. And obviously that was all hands to the pump to help the NHS in particular, but people and so on. Then the next thing is adapting. And that's where you start to see the differences emerge. So how can you help companies adapt to the new online world? And now we're into reinvention and recovery. And I do think it is about reinvention. It's not going to be the same old. But that's a great opportunity for tech. And the challenge is, can companies adopt it fast enough? Can they pivot to digital fast enough?
Yeah. So you think the challenge is more about organisations that are users and consumers of tech making decisions about the new normal, rather than the tech industry itself morphing and changing in order to meet the new normal?
It's both. I mean, it's both ends of the scale. I mean, as you know, you can have the best business proposition in the world, but if you've got no customers, the customers haven't got the money to invest or the skills to invest, that's a problem. So, I mean, just looking at the tech sector, obviously there were some question marks about funding. I mean, it's encouraging that funding seems to have stayed high in the UK. I mean, I know there's a lag in the numbers, but the latest numbers from Tech Nation, for example, are very reassuring. And clearly there is still money. If you look into the VC supply chain, there seems to be, I think they've got about 10 billion that they've raised. So there's money there. But I do think investment cases are harder to make, and for some business propositions now, people are saying, well, is that really going to work? Are your customers going to be able to take that? Is that going to happen? Others are flying off the shelf. I mean, if you're in any sort of infrastructure or any sort of internet-based thing, and obviously the organisations like Zoom have grown from a small niche player to the way a lot of people live.
Yeah, but the Zoom is when it's the headline figure, and of course when Nasdaq was going crazy last week, and of course now slumped. It was very much led by those new internet plays, the new wave plays, if you like. But I suspect that lying beneath the surface is a bunch of companies that maybe are reliant in certain sectors that will inevitably.
Well, that's the challenge. It's. I mean, there are some there are some puts and takes in this. I mean, I do think that if you're in the new tech, the tech that enables people to transform their industries, you're going to be in good shape. Just at a level of equipment suppliers, I mean, they were trying to keep up with demand in the early phases. Now, is that a bubble and then it'll go back to a normal take-up? I don't think so. I think that will still happen. What I think will be the challenge is, if you're providing solutions to transport and travel, if you're providing solutions to the airline industry, if you're providing solutions to the companies that service that sector, that's a really big challenge. And that doesn't seem as if it's going to unwind for 2 or 3 years. So that's why I think the key thing here is being flexible, repurposing your solutions. So there's a lot of companies who've got solutions that could apply to other markets. It's also, by the way, why you should be looking around the world, because the recovery of the global economy is going to happen in different phases in different places.
Indeed. In fact, we had a few interviews with a couple of people from Africa, looking at sort of the new and emerging African markets, Rwanda, Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt as well. These are becoming, it seems to be they're at like a tipping point, of both demand for technology products, but also we're now seeing the emergence of some green shoots of startup activity and also investor interest in Africa as well. Do you find that? Do you think there's a sufficient mindset in the United Kingdom from an export point of view in terms of tech firms to be able to look at those markets in the same way as American tech does? It ekes out niches of opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's historically not been. It's not been great. We've tended to look at a couple of sort of well-trodden paths, Jeff, to be honest. So the US is often the second port of call for a lot of innovators and startups, partly because also that's where funding is as well.
Yeah.
And so you get a combination of the market and funds, patient capital, that kind of thing that's been a bit in short supply in Europe. And then the other one has been obviously the European market, often drawn by their customers who've got, because it's a huge trading partner for us. And we've neglected some places. I mean, India, really, British tech has not participated in what's happened there.
The second biggest market for indirect investment, isn't it? After the United States, it's astonishing. And so many. NASCOM has a big virtual delegation at London Tech Week. It's astonishing some of the talent and innovation that's coming out of India.
Well, we address that in techUK. So we have an alliance with NASCOM and with the Indian government, the UK government. We actually have a tech alliance with India. And the idea there is to actually exchange innovation, exchange funding, open up markets, work together, and that trade is growing. But it's about time. Yeah. And then the other thing I would say is that often companies in the UK market are sort of slightly more developed, more advanced solution space, and they haven't therefore thought about some markets, because they think, well, that's a bit of an emerging market, it's not at this level, and they need to look more closely. If you look at some of the Asian markets and some of the African markets, there are very sophisticated, very demanding customers there, and they want the kind of things the UK is really good at. And of course, one of the things that the whole online world has really highlighted is cybersecurity.
It's such a resilient sector, isn't it? And still VC investment booming in cyber. But that's the skills challenge, though, is a significant one, isn't it? There's such a small pool of talent. And do you think that the new visa system, the points-based visa system, is going to help us get that talent in?
Well, we're very clear that we need access to global talent. But the other thing we're very clear about is everyone else is trying to get the same talent. Yeah. So if you think that the answer is simply going to be to import talent, then that isn't going to cut it. What we need to do is grow more of our own as well. I mean, we need the best of talent from around the world, and so there are a number of encouraging things there. I mean, stopping the sort of rule of throwing out students after we've taught them lots of stuff in our excellent universities, and they say, we can't run a business here, you can't join a business here, you got to go away and do it somewhere else. That change is great. The new visa regime for specialist skills from around the world is also, really encouraging. Although it needs to be easy, it needs to be fast, it needs to be something that SMEs can do. So we're really pushing the government to make sure that it's easy and cheap to do. But then what we've got to do is pivot to digital in all of the skills provision around the country. And by the way, we need to do it, Jeff, because there are going to be lots of people who are not going to be able to carry on in the jobs they used to do. I mean, look at something like airline pilots. A year ago, we were all talking about a shortage. Now, most of them need to look somewhere else.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, one of the companies we're featuring from Australia is a company called Fathom, which looks to how people can be retrained and repurposed in an age where AI and also COVID and all of these external factors have a huge impact on the nature of the workforce, and retraining and repurposing staff. You can say that sounds really callous, but that's something that organisations really need to think critically and hard about, isn't it?
Well, exactly, and people want it. We've done some surveys during COVID, and what's come through loud and clear in that we did 3 surveys of the general public as well as people in the tech industry, and really remarkable that the focus now on acquiring digital skills. People really understand that's what they need to do. They also understand that their job is going to change and they need to change with it. So So I think we're at a good point here. So, we're certainly saying, look, industry, we need to do more. We need to be producers of talent, not just consumers of talent. We've got to be more diverse, Jeff. I mean, we cut ourselves off from so many parts of the demographic of the UK. We've struggled to get women into the industry for a long time. But if you look at other minority groups, other people with different kind of education, we don't attract them in the way we should.
Yeah,
and we need to.
Absolutely, and we've again quite a few sessions on that very topic, and it makes sense, doesn't it? It's not even about diversity. It's about we need the people to do the work, and it's about
Go figure. If you've got anything up to pick your own number, somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million vacancies across the supply and the buy side, and you're not addressing this whole community of people.
Indeed, absolutely. So just changing direction slightly, there have been suggestions coming out through the media that the government is considering increases in corporation tax to kind of pay for the enormous debt burden now over 2 trillion sterling. And it would appear that certainly thought is being given to potentially hitting business as the key means of getting some revenue. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, obviously for a lot of startups, they'd love to be in a position where they're having to pay corporation tax. It's a few years away. But generally, look, businesses don't shirk from paying their responsible contribution to society. But you need to be careful about this stuff. So there are 2 things you need to watch out for. Messaging. So are we sending a message that says we're less business friendly than we were? And that needs to be thought through. And then the second thing you've got to think about is what's the impact on companies at different stages? And what are you doing there? Because obviously some of the mature players, the international players, they look across the world and they see the tax regimes, and we are one of the most advantageous, not as advantageous perhaps as Ireland, but so they've got a sort of more philosophical approach to it.
Really these days, and of course personal taxation rates in Ireland are exorbitant.
Yeah, exactly. So I think more important is looking at when you do something with taxes, are you actually encouraging investment? Are you encouraging entrepreneurship? Are you allowing companies to grow? So have you got the right targeted programs? One of the things we've been talking about is how do you do tax relief or tax allowances for investment, and particularly moving away from just capital items, because everybody's in the cloud now. So if you're going to give a benefit there, do that. Training, what are the tax benefits if you embark on training, apprenticeships, all those kinds of things. We need to do more of that rather than apprenticeship levy. How about apprenticeship encouragement?
Absolutely, but SEIS and EIS have been highlighted potentially as up for grabs as well. And that's one of our trump cards.
That's been the seed for so much of the startup environment, and it encourages the recycling of success, because so many more people now, and I've heard this and I've seen this myself, that the population of investors now is not just bankers and finance people. It's people who've had a business, run a business, generated some capital, and rather than just buy the vicarage or whatever they used to do in the past, or the mansion on the hill, they're actually investing in new companies, younger people, startups, and that's the kind of thing you need, because they bring expertise as well.
Absolutely, it's the absolute lifeblood of investment in tech, and I absolutely agree with you on that. So there's been a lot of talk in government circles about a tech-led recovery. Technology once again. The burden falls on us to come up with the goods and lead us out of this almighty unholy mess. So how's it going to do it?
So look, I don't see it as a burden. I see it as an opportunity. I really do. I think the UK has to be a digital nation. We don't have any other option. We've got to be high skill, high value, and that means digital these days. We're in the digital decade. The 20s are where digital technology becomes the way you do things. There isn't going to be anything that's not got a digital component to it, because if it hasn't, it'll go out of business. So I see it as a great opportunity. Where do I think it'll happen? So I think it's going to happen in particular sectors. We've already mentioned cybersecurity. The other one that we think is going to be massive going forward is EdTech. Delivery of the skills revolution and the different ways of training. The old model of everybody getting in a classroom, staying there for years and then coming out at the end with something sort of fixed that was designed years before.
Yeah, and there's been so much talk about it, and it just hasn't happened fast enough, and this is the kick up the backside that it needs.
It does need it, and I think it's going to happen. We're already seeing a different attitude from universities. We're finally seeing a focus on further education, because that's actually the sweet spot for enlarging the industry, opening it up to other people. So that's one. Health tech, all the stuff around the collision of digital technology, biotechnology, and healthcare generally. And again, the UK should be in the really sweet spot for that. You just got to look at the way we're making the pace on some of the vaccine development, a lot of the analysis, a lot of the medical, finding these new medicines. And you can apply general technology to this. The way people have said, okay, let's let AI look across the piece at solutions that are already there and see, would any of these help address this current virus? Lo and behold, they found some stuff.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you can do when you put those two things together.
Absolutely, indeed. So just now, the next thing is getting through the transition period before Brexit. I know techUK, along with the CBI, were a bit pro-Remain. I have to say, I was an advocate for leave. And I found it quite frustrating, actually, that a lot of the business bodies that represented large swathes of businesses seem to adopt a tone of pro-Remain. So are you now of a mindset that you want to be active in terms of creating a Brexit that is to the advantage of the industry and to the United Kingdom?
Well, we always were. I mean, we're not a political organisation, so our job at the time of the referendum was to say, what are the things that are important to the tech industry and its customers? And that may have come across as that relationship that exists is better than an unknown relationship, but that's not a political point. We didn't campaign. What we've done ever since then is to say, okay, what's still important for the tech industry and its customers? And the perspective I would give you on that, Jeff, is it's a global industry. So, in my interactions with other trade associations around Europe, I find they understand that. And sometimes their governments don't, and sometimes the EU doesn't. But they understand it's a global industry. Having said that, huge amount of our trade happens with the EU. So, we're going to have a new relationship, and what we're now focused on is how do we make that relationship the most productive it can be, the best opportunity for UK tech and its customers. But then you look at the other area and you say, well, what else can we do around the world? And that's back to the point we discussed earlier. Yeah. There's opportunity out there for sure. There is the opportunity for the UK to do new things and different things. And what we're saying to government is, you need to get both these relationships right. And we can lead here. I mean, it's very interesting how many people around Europe look at the way the UK does regulation, the way the UK does innovation. The fact that the business investment environment here is stronger than anywhere else in Europe, but still we're recording higher investment numbers than the other two majors, France and Germany, added together. So we're getting a lot of things right here, and I think we can turn that into a position of leadership. But I would come back to saying, but we do need a good relationship with the EU. Yeah.
Well, of course, the EU is not doing itself any favours either with Privacy Shield decision. The AI strategy comes across as incredibly interventionist. So there is an opportunity here for us to steal real competitive advantage, particularly in terms of our trade negotiations with the United States.
Well, in all of these things, you have to say, right, what's going to encourage innovation and investment, business change, but at the same time, there is a big agenda for us to say, how do we keep the confidence of our customers? And it wasn't so long ago that we were in the era of techlash, Jeff, where there was a lot of adverse comment about well, technology is a bit scary and it's taking my job and it's it's causing problems. You saw all the challenges there. What has happened in the crisis, the pandemic, is that the tech industry has showed up as being a good thing, and we think we need to build on that. So I think the balance that you need to get between this is one the UK can strike. Maybe the EU is too conservative, looks backwards too much, tries to prevent things, and there are a lot of vested interests from existing industries. Maybe the US is a little bit too laissez-faire and not so concerned about about getting these privacy and other matters right. And can the UK actually be the people who get
the
it
arbiter
right,
and
working with other like-minded countries and perhaps influence both?
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, I mean there's no doubt the EU is going to look at what we do here, and if it looks as if we are starting to have success because of a better approach to things like regulation, innovation, I think they will look at that and they'll start to copy that. And if the groundswell that you see in the US about tech continues, they might also say, well, is there a different model? That's where I think we have the chance to really lead, especially when you get into some of these new things. As soon as you get anywhere near biotechnology, healthcare, you've really got to get the ethics right.
Absolutely. Well, listen, that's a really good point to finish on. I think you're right. The United Kingdom is in a fabulous, there's a fabulous opportunity here in terms of our global positioning. And of course, this is what we're good at as a nation, isn't it?
Exactly.
We're good at
third in AI,
yeah, so
the best investment record across Europe, the best use of online technology per capita around the world. I mean, you've got to watch out for China because these guys are innovating all over the place, but But if you look at the adoption of technologies in the UK, it's second to none. And the chance to transform our industry, given that we're also extremely good at research and development, well, good at research, we need to be better at development, to be honest. But that's the opportunity.
Absolutely. Julian, thank you very much indeed for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of London Tech Week.
I'm certainly looking forward to it. Thanks very much for the chat, Jeff. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks, Julian.